Hi everyone, so this is just going to be a one-take, unscripted, unedited kind of video. I'm making this video because tomorrow is actually World Lupus Day, which of course is a day that's meant to raise awareness and hopefully some funds in and around lupus and finding a cure. And the reason that I want to do this video is because I remember when I first got diagnosed with lupus, I was pretty clueless. I'd only ever heard about it in House, actually. It's always referenced in that TV show, and even then I didn't know much about it, and it was just a really, really sort of scary time for me. And I remember actually trying to find resources and either not being able to find them or just finding like the worst case scenario stories. So basically it was just a really scary time, and I wish I'd researched a bit more into, on YouTube and hearing people's stories, but at the same time I was kind of a little too nervous to do it. I didn't want to hear sort of the worst things that could happen, so I didn't want to freak myself out anymore. So basically this is just my lupus story. If you guys want another sort of take on it, I was featured in Lupus Canada's August edition last summer. I'll leave a link in the description. You guys can check that out and read it if you're interested. But yeah, basically, this is my lupus story. So I think I actually first experienced a flare about 6 or 7 years ago, but I had no idea what it was. And I remember the exact moment that I started flaring. I was walking through the mall and I was eating a salad because I felt like, this is before I had any understanding of like nutrition and diet and things like that. I felt like if I ate the salad after binging on really unhealthy foods, it would like balance out or something. I don't know. But I just remember I was eating a salad after feeling really guilty about just consuming like a ton of Kraft dinner and pizza and whatever. And then I just felt like a pain under my jaw sort of start to throb. And I guess that was my gland at the time, this whatever gland is here, I don't know. And it started throbbing, and then it like propagated down my neck, and I still get this pain into my chest, and then it made breathing really difficult for me. And it would get worse if I bent over or back or laid on my sides, depending on what side was hurting. And I was really confused, and in that moment it felt like I was having an allergic reaction to something, because it was so sudden. I just didn't know to what, and to my knowledge I wasn't actually allergic to anything. So from that first flare, that was the first summer where I remember a really sort of confusing time. I went into ER about 13 times that summer because I continuously couldn't breathe. And I remember the doctors would always sort of tell me like, oh, you're just having a panic attack or whatever, because they would see on my charts that I had a history of anxiety and depression. And I just remember thinking like, no, this is not a panic attack. This is a very physical thing that's happening to me where I'm physically unable to breathe. It felt like something was pushing down on my chest and constricting everything inside my rib cage, and I had so much throbbing pain all over my body. And yeah, I don't know, I went for ECGs, echocardiograms, breathing tests. I had my bones checked at that time, but they never, oh, and they checked my blood as well, but they didn't check for RA and ANA factor, which would have been, the revealing things about lupus and arthritis. So I don't know why no one thought to check my immunology, but it just never happened. And I went to so many clinics, and I was describing the same symptoms, like extreme fatigue, very hard time breathing, and nobody found it. So it went away after about 2 months that first time, thank God. It came back again 2 summers later. I remember at this time I was in university, I was in my engineering degree, and it was in the summer, and I was supposed to go out with friends or something, but I just like woke up and I couldn't breathe again. And I had no idea what was causing it. And I'm pretty sure now it's linked, it always happens around May, and I'm pretty sure it's linked to the sun coming out and getting to be more intense, and that's actually a trigger for lupus, is sunlight. So I think I was getting more sun exposure, and it was finally just triggering this immune response in my body and attacking everything. So anyway, again, I it was just more so with my breathing. And from time to time, in those years, I also would experience things like, you know, my joint swelling locally. Like I would have sometimes my hand or my wrists or my ankles, but I always justified it as like, you know, I'm carrying a really heavy backpack, or I'm waitressing. I used to waitress a lot actually, or always have different restaurant jobs. So I'm carrying a lot of heavy plates, or I'm typing at the computer, or I'm bent over with my neck, and you know, that's causing. So I would always try and like excuse it for those reasons. Now I know that that was actually arthritis. And anyway, so I'd always have these like sporadic symptoms, but I never made a connection because I just wasn't familiar with this disease. And then finally, the turning point, I guess you could say, is I've told this story a few times before, and people watching probably are familiar with this story. But so I was training for Miss Universe Canada 2016, and 1 month before the competition, I woke up and my whole body was completely paralyzed with pain. I can't even begin to describe how painful this was. All of my joints were completely swollen and inflamed. Just laying in bed was painful. It like gravity just acting on your body, you could feel it, which is intense. So painful. And like normally when you have a pain in your body, you try to shift to move your muscles to find a more comfortable position. There is no comfortable position when you have arthritis because it's deep down into your bones. Like it's awful. And I just remember like I had to like kind of roll myself out of bed. I couldn't even prop myself up. I couldn't crack any bones. Everything was puffy and swollen. I couldn't hold a knife and cut things. I could barely walk down the stairs. At that time, I was living in a student house where the bathroom was in the basement. So I was like hobbling down the stairs. Like I could barely put any pressure on any bones to like move a chair out from a table. I was disabled, like not as severely as maybe some other people, but like severely impacted and not functional for a whole month that time. Like I had to have my mom and my friends come over and help me with laundry and cooking and all that. So it was very confusing because I remember thinking this was kind of like a cruel joke that life was playing on me, because I was actually in the best shape of my life that I'd ever been in at that time. I was preparing for Miss Canada, like I said, and I was in great shape. I had the bikini body and whatever, and then one morning I wake up and I'm paralyzed and my health is gone virtually. Yeah, so and the breathing problems were there as well, but it was kind of sort of good timing actually, because I had gone into the doctor a week before that to get some blood work done. So a little bit of backstory: my mom had had an aneurysm and a stroke a few months prior to that, which runs in our family. So I wanted, and an aneurysm can happen at any age. So I went in to get some blood work because I wanted to get an MRI to make sure I didn't have an aneurysm growing in my brain. And at the same time, I asked my doctor to sort of check off, you know, if they could test for arthritis, because I'd been feeling these symptoms from time to time. Maybe I have carpal tunnel, just to rule it out. So my doctor checked off the markers for arthritis and then also for lupus, the ANA factor. And I didn't know that they did that, but I guess that's part of like the immunology check or whatever they do. And so my blood work gets sent off, and then a week later I have this massive flare where, you know, hands are like sausages, and then I had a follow-up because the doctor called, and of course the result came back as positive for arthritis and all that. So they're like, hey, we need you to come in. Something came up in the test, so go in to see the doctor. And it's not even my usual doctor because I was working at that time, so my doctor, I couldn't see her during the day, so I was seeing like an evening doctor at the Student Wellness Center at McMaster. And I go in and she's like, hey, so I've got some bad news. And she probably felt just as awkward, you know, talking to this patient she doesn't even know and having to give them this life-changing news. So I have some bad news, you know, you tested positive for rheumatoid arthritis. And at this point I'm looking at my hands and I'm like, yeah, no kidding, like my hands are sausages. My fingers are like sausages rather. And then she's like, yeah, but you also tested positive for lupus. And I remember like at that time it was like, it's like in a movie where the doctor's giving you bad news. It was literally like this, and it just turns into like a wah, 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 wah voice, and you kind of zone out like, what? What is this disease? It sounds horrible. I don't know what it is. I'm terrified. Am I going to die? What's happening to me? And I remember it felt like in the first couple months, in the first 6 months, it was extremely emotional. One, I had to drop out of Miss Canada. Two, it felt like a death sentence. And that's something I actually want to convey is like lupus is not a death sentence. So don't think it is. It can be serious, and it is, you know, something you need to take very detailed care of. But it's not as bad as you think it is, you know, most of the time, hopefully. I don't know everyone's case, but anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought there because I was thinking back to how horrible it was. But yeah, I just remember it felt hopeless. It was extremely frustrating because it's basically like it's a normal process in your body. It should be a normal process. You know, your immune system finds something it needs to get rid of, and it's supposed to deal with it. Except what it's trying to get rid of now is your own organs. And so it's like cancer in a sense, where it's just like should be a normal process in your body, but it's out of control. And how do you stop that, basically? So you have to suppress your immune system, you have to reduce the inflammation in your body. So I went on hydroxychloroquine, which is actually a drug that's also used to treat malaria. No idea why they work together, but they do. I was put on steroids, so even though I continued following my bikini program, like strictly, I still gained about 20 pounds. 15, 20 pounds of just from steroids and all the stress and everything going on in my body. I was put on anti-inflammatories. I was put on heavy duty like aspirin or Advil, and I took Tylenol for arthritis. And I remember it was doubly frustrating because I just started a new internship. Before that, like I was working as a hostess and a waitress. I couldn't do that, and I still can never do that again because I can't sustain weight on my hands for shifts. I can do it like when I'm lifting at the gym for like a couple seconds, and then I put it down, and then, you know, how long does your workout last, right? Versus like a shift where I'd be hours and hours. Anyway, basically just really shitty time in my life. A lot of things changed. And I didn't tell anyone for a while because obviously very personal. I didn't really know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know if I was going to need chemotherapy. Like, I was still processing this information. I didn't know what, you know, how aggressive it was going to get or what was going to happen. So I didn't tell anybody for a while, and then luckily I managed now to come back from it, and I'm in remission supposedly. Every now and again I'll still have like a minor flare-up. Something will hurt from time to time, but I'm doing much better now. It's been 2 years actually, almost exactly 2 years since that event occurred. There is a happy ending to the story. I did get to compete in Miss Canada the next year. This was now last October in 2017, and but it was a long road to recovery, I would say, especially even like the weight loss with the steroids. Again, you know, you have to give your body time to heal, and you have to give it time to adjust. And so the main symptoms I still get, and like what it's like living day to day with lupus, going from being pretty much non-functional day to day, like you know, having kids is one issue now. I have to be really careful if I ever plan on getting pregnant, which is like, that's not even on my mind right now, but that is something to watch in the future. You know, getting laser eye surgery, I need to be in remission to do that. Otherwise your body could start reacting to the surgery or whatever, start attacking your eyes, go blind. There's just, I have to watch, you know, my sugar intake, being out in the sun too long. My sleep really affects it. If I don't sleep enough, I definitely feel it. And I still have extreme fatigues from time to time. Like, the worst part I would say about having lupus is sort of the element of the unknown. So they randomly pop up. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if it's going to keep getting worse, if I should call in sick for things, if I should take a day off or if I can trudge through, or I've gotten better at taking care of myself, and I try now to take it slow, and if I need time off, I'll take time off, or if I need to cancel something, no regrets, no guilt, sorry, you know, my health comes first. But yeah, so some good news too is, so each time I've gone back to my specialist, you know, I get more questions answered, and so essentially what lupus is it's your immune system attacking your organs and things like that, and then you feel it in the form of like flares and inflammation. So when something is being damaged or attacked in your body, it swells up and it flares, and it's very painful. And what that's also doing is it's, you know, it's degrading your organs and things like that. But not always necessarily the case. So in my case, you know, my organs are pretty intact, they're doing good, they're not being degraded because the flares are not as aggressive. In other cases, like in Selena Gomez, for example, her kidneys were completely deteriorated. She needed a kidney transplant. I've also totally had the thing where I can't open a water bottle. It's immensely frustrating having to ask people to do simple tasks like that. Or ironically, when I can't open my pill bottle because of my arthritis, to take my arthritis medication. Like, so day to day I'm okay, I would say now especially. It's gotten a lot better. Some days are really crappy. Like this whole last week I just started a new, like my career actually, I started a new job as an engineer. And I think the stress of starting a new job and all that took a little toll on me, and I was flaring up. My whole left side of my body was in a lot of pain. I couldn't sleep on this side. I wasn't able to breathe. I was having a lot of pain on my jaw. It always starts under here, I think, and then it like pulses and then propagates. I feel it all over my back and chest, and I hate it. I'd always just have low energy. There's very little activity that I can do on days like that. But, you know, if anything, it's taught me to be more optimistic and enjoy, be grateful, I guess, for the good days, and just try to live life to the fullest when I'm having good days or when I'm feeling at my healthiest. So, and it's also taught me not to take my health for granted. So something that I'm going to be doing now is slowly incorporating like healthy, active routine again. I've been watching calories and what I'm eating again. So not as strict as my bikini prep, but just taking better care of myself. So if you recently found out that you have lupus, I really wish you all the best in your recovery. I, you know, really strongly encourage you to take better care of yourself. Drink lots of water, wear sunscreen, get lots of sleep. Oh, there's a giant bumblebee trying to get into my window. Anyway, sorry. Eat right. I really strongly recommend you to eat right and avoid sugar and alcohol. And so yeah, I hope this video has cleared up maybe some questions or given you a better idea of what it's like to have lupus. If you are feeling charitable, please visit lupuscanada.org or .ca. I'll leave the link in the description. Please donate. Again, there's no cure. This is a life-threatening chronic illness that has no cure. Or if you could just share this video or even share any fact that you find online about lupus and hashtag it, you know, World Lupus Day, that would really, really mean a lot to the whole, you know, lupus community, and mean a lot to me. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions at all about lupus, I can do my best to answer them in the questions. Any questions about my story or my symptoms, happy to discuss it. So please help spread awareness, and thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.